Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Hello to the farmers out there. Hey, we're live again with some very special guests. And, of course, my co-host, Jeffrey Wilson. Look, I love being the dumbest guy in the room. Now, not necessarily are these guys all in the same room with me, but I'll be the dumbest guy in the podcast today for all intents and purposes. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I like being surrounded by smart people. I like our guests a lot. They're great guys. They're truth seekers, just like we are, Jeff. And I don't know if you've met Mike and Christian yourself, have you?
I have not personally met them, but I did see Mike stomp CM Punk's guts out last summer.
Yeah, that was a fun night. So just kind of give you a heads up, Christian Sutton's a guy I've known for a long time. Used to train martial arts at a gym that I was kind of part of for a while down there in Houston, Texas, and became friends with him over the years through mixed martial arts, and he loves to come on to my Facebook page and troll my friends. He destroys them on a regular basis with a lot of very cogent arguments and very cerebral messages. And then Mike Jackson, of course, a guy that I've known for a long time, also through mixed martial arts, but also look, these guys are very intelligent. I love to be around them, Jeff. And I thought that it was very important that we got them on the show. Look, we've had enough CIA intelligence officials. We've had enough FBI guys. We've had enough special forces guys. It's time to get guys that are truly locked into the thought process of America and the undertow that's really going on. And they agreed to do it, and I'm pretty damn happy about it.
Well, welcome,
man, we're
gentlemen.
happy to be here.
Absolutely,
Thank you for
man.
having me. We're happy to be here. I've been following the show for quite a while, and I enjoy the out of the box, sort of perspective that you all bring with your guests. You get the CIA operatives, you get do you have like some Russian agents as well, or something like that, or not? I'm sorry, the Spetsnaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys like that.
We conspire with Russians.
We collude. Former Deputy Director of Counterintelligence for the FBI, Dave Zadie. That was a cool one.
Yeah, so I enjoy the guests that you all have because, again, these aren't conversations that you're going to hear, on a regular basis.
No, it's not, because it's the truth, right?
Well, but it's also access, though. Think about who has the access to that kind of, not the information itself, but the people who are sharing the information.
Right.
It's about having that access, and, a lot of people who may think they know the truth, they don't have full access, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's just how the game is played.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's a little bit of indoctrination. It's a little bit of public education. It's all of the above when it comes to that sort of stuff. Now, so what I want you guys to do real quick, because I don't know your full backgrounds, things like that. Look, Christian and Mike, I want you guys to kind of give the listeners a little more about yourselves. I know, Christian, you served in the United States Navy. You're a patriot. Both of you guys are patriots. So kind of give us a little bit more about your history from when you were younger till today.
I'm an old man. My mother was born in Canada. My father was born in England. Right. My father was also in the Air Force, so I'm from a military family. My father was also a Black Panther.
Interesting. Yeah, very cool.
Wakanda forever. I joined the Navy not more as to some sense of I've got to support my country. It was more of I want to join the Navy. I wanted to be a SEAL, things like that.
Right.
I joined at 17 years old. My mom had to sign me in. She was pissed off that I didn't go to the Air Force, but everyone told me not to go to the Air Force because it's hard to make rank in the Air Force because the Air Force is the chair force. No one wants to get out. So billets rarely open up.
My guy, real quick, before you play, excuse me, sir. Yeah, what? Can we just finish the podcast for a second before you plug in, or are you doing that?
Are they messing with
you? We're doing a podcast, and
that's what I was asking. That's why I replayed it.
So it's funny when people get attitudes and not realizing, just like you, what my background is, and things like that. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, because he needs to get lit up, doesn't he, Christian?
Just like the way he looked at us when we asked him not to plug it up was like, what are you going to do? And it's like, yeah. Anyway, so I joined the Navy. As like you said, I was affiliated with the Militich Gym here. So my base in mixed martial arts is at Militich, MFS forever. I worked for LFA. My official title is Event Logistics, but basically I'm the door guy. I'm security for the technical zone. My shirt says enforcer.
You babysit, you babysit a few people.
I babysit people. I'm the guy that has balls enough to tell a fighter to shut the fuck up, get down, stuff like that. Because,
yeah. Stoic strength. Stoic strength is how I would describe Christian.
Yeah.
For you good.
Yeah.
For me, I come from a little bit of a different background. For me, I was raised. I live with my stepfather, my mom, both in the medical field. My stepdad, he's a doctor who owned his own practice. My mother was an RN who eventually graduated to more of the, I guess she wanted to get on the more corporate side, the administrative side, before having my twin brother and sister. So for me, I've been sort of privileged. I've had access to privilege that, a lot of people who look like me don't necessarily have. And throughout the process, my mother remarried when I was 9.
So wait, what you're saying is you've experienced white privilege.
I would definitely not say that.
I think we both have. We both come from a somewhat easy. I was wearing Ralph Lauren in the 80s. So
dude, I couldn't afford Ralph Lauren in the 80s. That's ridiculous.
My mom has worked at Hewlett-Packard since it was compact. I had a very first laptop, and it was a suitcase type thing. I literally grew up on a golf course. The neighborhood that we used to do fights at, the neighborhood that we did fights at here is the neighborhood I grew up in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For me, I actually lived around. I was neighbors with Warren Moon. Webster slaughtered some football players. Basketball players. This was the environment, and I went to school with all of Warren Moon's kids. So this was the environment that I was raised in, and for me, it took me years later, as an adult, to understand, how things were different for me, as opposed to a lot of people again who look like me who don't have the same privilege. So now I'm in a position where I'm trying to use my platform as a media personality, as a fighter, and open eyes from every aspect of life. So that's where I'm at now.
Nice. Okay. And I will say that your fight against CM Punk was a very pleasurable experience for me. You were very nice to ask me to help corner you. And I tell you what, I had a lot of fun. In that experience. Dogging CM Punk and Duke Rufus.
You liked it because the Duke Rufus joint. You wanted to get him like that.
Yeah, we had a good time. So look, there's a lot of shit going on, guys. There's a lot of issues that are hitting right now. Trump being called a racist, of course, and everything. And look, I don't necessarily agree with all of your political opinions, but the thing that you guys bring to the table is, like I said, cogent arguments. You guys are very intelligent, and you have a strong argument. So I'm cool with that. Look, I want to debate with people who are super fucking smart and who can basically shoot me down or make me think or rethink the way I think. And I want that. So that's why you guys are here. And, Jeff and I don't agree on everything either. And that's the type of people I want to surround myself with. Now, I don't want to be in a bubble. There's a lot of people on the right and the left that want to live in that bubble, that don't want to cross streams on intelligence and thought processes. But we've got to change that, and I think together we can help do that.
Well, what people fail to understand is that, and this is the big issue right now, is people have to understand that everybody is different. Everybody is going to have their own perspective and their own line of thought on a lot of issues. And just because we don't agree, it doesn't mean the other person is wrong. It's all about perspective. And that is what this country has lost focus on, is the perspective as a whole. So many people are looking at this from an individual standpoint. And I get it. Like, it's all about self-preservation. But you also have to look at the bigger picture, because look, if people come over here and attacking the country and everybody is just doing their own thing, then we lose. We have to come together as a whole, and it's all about understanding that people think differently than you.
Right. Jeff, you got anything you want to jump in on? Because I'm gonna start.
No, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, that's kind of the nail on the head. We're all kind of products of our own environment, and those environments are different. And then, when we kind of, like you said, Pat, set up that echo chamber where, we just only hear our own narrative, that creates those kind of, just limits to the real exchange of dialogue, like Mike was saying, or Chris, and I forget who said it, that, we need to be able to exchange these, dialogues, civilly. We need to agree without being violently disagreeable. And we see it now, with this political season, marriages are breaking up. Family members aren't even speaking just because the politics are different. But, we got to be able to break that down.
Yeah. So,
like I told Pat earlier, after doing some of these shows, like I thought Iowa's on there. It's not on the list behind you. You need to update that list on your wall behind you. Anyway, for the LFA shows. But after visiting Iowa and Nebraska, because I grew up in the city of Houston. I grew up in cities. When I was in the military, I was in big cities. So I never got to see Middletown, America. I did have like a guy in boot camp with me that first time he saw a live black person was in boot camp, and this was in 1990.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Pretty wild, yeah.
So we're not as far ahead as people think we are. But what I'm trying to get at is when I visited Iowa and I got to see or in Nebraska and see not how you live, not in a derogatory way, where it's how your life is so simple. Again, not in a derogatory way, that how you hate the Californians, and not hate is such a strong word, but I can see how you think that people are trying to push things on you because we live life differently here. Like, I think it was Sioux Falls, where the population of the town was my neighborhood. Like, wow. I think like the population of the town was like close to 100,000. I was like, okay, there's probably like a close to 100,000. That's probably like half. Like my neighborhood is probably half that. Like realistically.
Right.
That's crazy. So I can understand how you see things differently, but in the same accord, they don't see how I see things, like how you Pat, like when my friends, because you troll my friends like I troll your friends,
right?
And my friends, I have to say, well, you've got to remember that Pat's an old white man from the Midwest. Like you're a 25-year-old bisexual female in the city.
And you know what? Hey, look, there's a lot of ways to say promiscuous. I'm just saying, bro. It's all the Frankfurt School infiltration from the 20s coming to fucking head. I get it, bro.
But see, no, I mean, what it didn't seem. That's the thing, that for a side that's supposed to be so for individual freedom,
which I am. You can do what you want. I can make fun of you for it. And you're going to have to accept it. Look, people try to get me fired for making fun of people who are different than me, and people make fun of me. I certainly don't want to get them fired for their making fun of me. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not the making fun of it. It's just when those people get into positions where they can legislate over my freedom. That's not bothering anyone.
Nobody's telling you can't be bisexual, Christian.
But okay, but like the uproar about gay marriage before, like it's still not legal in some places.
Well, and you guys will probably agree with this. You guys will probably agree with this, is that government should have never gotten involved in marriage to begin with because it was for tax purposes to begin with.
And then we're going like that back then. Well, yeah,
but we're past all that. It's here now.
Absolutely.
It's here now. But and so if we're here now, and if it shouldn't matter, it shouldn't matter. It's what those two people do doesn't affect me. I don't have to agree with it. I have friends that drink Bud Light. I think Bud Light is disgusting. I don't have to agree with it, but it's their right to drink Bud Light.
There drinks Bud Light.
I mean, that's their right to drink Bud Light.
I think there is not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but there is a certain kind of level of social engineering. I don't care who you sleep with. I mean, at the end of the day, I really, really don't. But I think
as long as you're not beating up on animals and children, we're good.
There's a certain aspect, like I say, of social engineering where they're not, I wouldn't say normalizing, but they're over sexualizing some of these children with, drag queens coming to the grade school classes, or these drag queen photo shoots, et cetera, that just again, not to infringe on anybody's right to do what they want as an adult, but at the end of the day, sometimes I think they're over sexualizing some of these children with some of this rhetoric.
I agree 100%. And I agree, but it's their kids. I mean, we all indoctrinate our kids to some form. We all train
I'm not meaning in households. When you have drag queens coming to public schools, that's
I get
that's a fucking issue there.
Okay,
there's a fucking issue.
But just because they're coming to the schools, doesn't mean you can still talk to your kid when you get home. And at the end, it's still you're the parent. You parent your child. Your child comes home and say, "Hey, I saw this at school today." Say, "Okay, Bobby, there's certain people that's what they do,"
right?
And let them decide if that's.
But I mean, again, they can have that discussion with their kid. But why is there R ratings on movies? There's just certain things that kids should be seeing at a certain age.
And that's a parental suggestion.
Right.
I saw Alien. I'm sorry, but I saw Alien, the original one, and I'm 46. Think about when that came out, and I saw that in the movie theater. So that means I was about 4 or 5 when I saw that in the movie theater. That movie fucked me up, but that's
a lot less scary than a grown man dressed as a woman.
So subjective.
Here's my agree subjective. So here's my thing. I don't have a problem as far as like a drag queen or anything going to a school and if they're reading and because I think that was sort of the program is that they have a drag queen who's reading. As far as current times change because things evolve and times change, and so I understand that. But as long as you're not passing your beliefs, again, I care less what your beliefs are, but as long as you're not passing that on to children, as far as people who.
But that's not education, bro. That's not education. That's not education.
If someone is sitting there reading, like, and it's not. I hear the education part, but we're talking about an experience for kids where you have someone from the outside, whether it be now the whole, and I think it's the context of a drag queen coming to read, because if it were police officer coming to read, no one would say anything.
What if it was Flip Wilson? Remember Flip Wilson used to do his bit? Was it Maybell or? And that's our era, Pat. I mean, as far as
I get it, yeah, no, and I never even thought of that because Flip Wilson was a genius.
Wasn't Clarabelle the Clown actually a dude?
You might be correct.
So that's
Tootsie. I mean, all these things that.
But I never thought of that. I never even thought of that as that type of. Yeah. Again, Frankfurt School of Indoctrination, though, right? And the Frankfurt School of Infiltration in the 20s and 30s was all about breaking down all sexual responsibilities and barriers and everything else as part of the plan to, basically turn America into a nation. It's about destroying all barriers, basically. And look, I don't have a problem with people living the sexual life that they want. I have no problem with that. But I will say that it is one leg of the apparatus of the Marxist operation that plans to turn this country into a Marxist haven. basically.
I remember in grade school, dude, when someone said a minute ago, if Johnny comes home after seeing this, Mom, guess what I saw? I remember being in grade school or even health class, in certain movies in health class, there was like, all right, send this letter home to your mom. You're going to be watching this next week. If she doesn't want you to watch it, you can opt out or whatever. But, I think taking that parental choice away of exposing your child or someone's child to that, and then...
Yeah, there should be a heads up. Hey, we're going to have
some kind of heads up.
Dressed as a drag queen coming in to read your kids next week.
There are heads up, because these aren't done at schools. They're actually done at public libraries, and it's listed, the activities for the library are listed bare minimum a month out. All you have to do is go and look, so you'll know, okay, I'm not going on Saturday because that Whitney Houston impersonator is going to be there reading, and he looks that like way Pat. I don't have to.
And Whitney Houston impersonator looks like Pat Miller.
Yeah.
So let's do this. We've beaten this dead dog a little bit. Let's move on to Trump's comments about Elijah Cummings and Baltimore. I want each of your takes on that, and then I'll kind of give you my feedback on it. And actually, I've been doing a lot of research and feedback from people from Baltimore, Democrats who have made the same statements that Trump has made, but haven't been called out for it, things like that. And so
help me out. I've been out of the loop. What was said? I literally have no idea.
And I want you to quote Pat Millett. You better quote him. You better quote it.
I better quote who?
You better quote your boy. Let's go.
All right. First off, Christian, what's your take on Trump's comments?
No. Jeff needs to Jeff needs to hear the.
Jeff needs to know the comments.
Jeff needs to know my comments.
No, what was said about Baltimore and Elijah Cummings?
Okay, go ahead and read them, guys, because my phone is running, filming the computer screen.
We gotta
look it up. Basically, he said that Elijah Cummings need to worry about his district, that it's rat-infested, poverty, and worn down, and all that. And just coincidentally, Elijah Cummings is the chair of the committee that's investigating Trump. And he's been very vocal against Trump's policies.
Right.
So, and I think that I think it's hypocritical for the president to say that, because his son-in-law's company, the real estate company, owns properties in Baltimore, and
that Elijah Cummings people and him sold to them.
But it's not. Who owns it now? Who owns it now?
I'll let you talk.
Okay. Jared Kushner's companies own these properties. They have gotten thousands of dollars worth of fines. I think the total number of fines is like 720 fines or something on so many properties, and it goes back. It goes back for a couple of years. It's not like just recently.
Yeah.
And even if Elijah Cummings people did sell it to Jared owns it now. When back in 2012,
and I know Kushner fan, trust me.
And back in 2012, it was Obama's fault that Baltimore was messed up. Trump said that if you drop him off in there, he can fix it quick, fast, in a hurry. He's been in office almost 4 years now. Fast in a hurry, it hasn't happened.
I recall one of our first guests was a former police officer, Baltimore police officer, and former Marine, Michael Wood. And he said back in the day,
that was unfucking hinged.
But that doesn't change the standpoint where he was saying, there was certain housing restrictions where black folks could only live in certain areas. And as a veteran cop, he said they called that area the zoo, and these certain police officers were zookeepers, basically referring to these individuals who inhabited this area as animals. So, I mean, again, there's some social engineering aspect to this.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. There's certain areas in Houston that to this day still have race restrictions written in the deed restrictions. And there's people that are afraid to live. I mean, people live there, but legally, if they wanted to fight it, it could be fought because there's deed restrictions. They should not be living there. And
how wild is that? How wild is that?
To this day,
yeah, no, it's crazy. So what you're saying is that there are people of a certain race who live in a certain area who are restricted, that they shouldn't be living there by zoning rules.
Okay, there are neighborhoods that I cannot live in because I am black. according to their deed restrictions. I cannot buy a house in that neighborhood according to the deed restrictions. Because my birth certificate
tailback for the
says
Houston football team.
No. You can. I mean,
they're gonna let them stay there
no.
either.
You can live there because you can buy the house and they'll just be upset with you about it. But according to the deed restriction, you cannot. The realtor cannot sell to you.
So here's. So and you know, after that, ingesting that, which is madness, I didn't even know that existed. I would say this is that, you know, Baltimore received $1.8 billion to bring up the standards of living in the ghetto sections of Baltimore, right? We know that the money got dispersed to a lot of politicians and a lot of people that shouldn't have never gotten it. We know that corruption was involved. That's pretty obvious. Elijah Cummings has been a representative of that district for 25 years. So that's a big problem. And look, we're not going to blame Elijah Cummings. We're going to blame the outsourcing of blue-collar jobs into China and India and a lot of other places, Pakistan, where
which
these
is
jobs
still going on underneath this administration.
Absolutely. But I would say that Trump is at least. Would you at least admit that Trump is at least trying to bring jobs back, because manufacturing jobs have actually come back?
I think you're afraid of the globalists taking over, and he is a globalist. I mean, he is a businessman. Why wouldn't he want there to be a global economy? I mean, why wouldn't he?
Apple just left Texas to move to China.
I think you're misinterpreting my interpretation of globalist.
I am.
Globalist economy is fine, but a one world monetary system is bad. A one world government is bad. Look, globalist.
Okay, yeah.
But globalist trade is great, and I think that to be honest with you, global monetary systems should all be on either gold, silver, something tangible, so that we can all trade equally, things like that. But that's not the case, and certainly the globalists don't play by the true globalists. Don't see borders. They don't see
sovereignty.
They don't see sovereignty or any of that. Each nation needs to have its sovereignty. I mean, when I go to Italy, I'm there to eat pasta and drink great wine. When I go to the Middle East, I want to see the pyramids and eat stuff wrapped in grape leaves.
That can still happen. That has nothing to do with how the government is.
That all goes away, dude. With true globalism, all that shit goes away, brother.
Then isn't that what we're doing aren't we creating globalism that's, in your terms, by taking all of these countries and forcing democracy on them? Isn't that
we're absolutely not forcing democracy on anybody by bombing the shit out of them. You know,
but all that's done under the guise of spreading democracy, whether it's Venezuela or Iran.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
you guys and I and Jeffrey all know, you know, that we're raping and pillaging sources from nations. That's not democracy. That's been, you know, the guise of you know.
I mean, but that's what we're doing.
And the apparatus.
We put Saddam in power, and then suddenly, when he didn't do what we wanted him to do, okay, now we got to take this dude out.
That's the thing. I say all the time on this show. I mean, it's always, and believe me, I will qualify this statement. This is the greatest country in the world, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But our government for decades have been doing shit in our name that is just absolutely despicable, and it's done under the guise of Americana, spreading democracy. Like you just said, maybe not everybody wants democracy, but that's not even close to what's happening. Like Smelly Butler said, war is a racket, and a lot of these military folks are just gangsters for some of these, you know, crony capitalists and shit. People are just being blatantly genocided and murdered under the guise of supposedly spreading democracy, when it's actually just like any empire. The whole point of empire is to expand empire, and that's what we've been doing forever under the guise of this, you know, American exceptionalism. It's only okay when we do it, you know, and all this other shit.
Right.
So here's my question to you, right? So my thing is, the way I look at life is that everybody's different and everybody can do their own thing as long as they're not imposing their ideals and their beliefs on other people. Like, they're not forcing.
Not forcing. Yeah.
Well, right. As long as you're not forcing it, right? But what is it to the point where we're trying to all come up with the same thing? Because I want my pasta. I want my what's the whatever I go to
tzatziki or
whatever
Tiki
I
masala.
wanna eat all. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I love me some tiki masala. Oh man. So, but when I go to these places, I want to enjoy these different cultures. I don't want these cultures to go away.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But we don't have to. It almost seems like we're trying to impose our will around the globe. We want to be like the tough guy because it seems that everybody involved. Yeah, I get it. It's about greed. It's about money and power. But my whole thing is, it's like you got enough. Like we don't have to have it all. It almost seems it's like everyone is looking at this as a race and as a competition. Like if you're not first, you're last. It's like it's not about first and second and third place. Everyone can do their own thing without going over to killing other people, trying to take their land or resources or whatever. We can do this in a respectable way. We can barter, we can trade, we can do whatever we have to do, as opposed to going over here, blowing people's shit up and killing them to impose our beliefs on other people.
Well, and that's the big conversation with like these Ilhan Omars. And believe me, you can't come over to the United States and impose Sharia law. The shit this ain't gonna work. But how's that? You know, the juxtaposition of that is we go over to other countries and try to impose ways of life that they might not necessarily want, like you guys are saying.
Just as like we don't need Sharia law over here, they don't need American rule over in their place. Let them do what they got to do over there, and let us do what we got to do.
Yeah, and you know and I don't know if you guys heard this. But have you guys heard Ilhan Omar's new nickname?
No, let me hear it.
She's a brotherfucker.
That's pretty funny. I mean, the people, they got some good little one-liners. They're pretty cute. I laugh.
But that's what always frustrates me. It's like we are the first to snap. If let China come over the Gulf of Mexico and do what we're doing in the Strait of Hormuz right now.
Exactly.
Let any other country come and do and impose their shit or dictate to us what we're going to do. They just would be removed from the freaking planet. But we somehow rationalize doing the exact same thing over in all these different parts of the world, man. And unfortunately, millions of people have been freaking put in the ground because of that. But somehow it gets a pass. Somehow, fucking way, it gets a pass.
And I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why is because when people are going, when they're out here doing this shit, when they're going, it's all about themselves and us, and it's what we want and what we want to impose.
Yes.
And because we don't have the empathy to care about what other people care about. So if we do it, it's okay. But if someone does it to us, then it's bad.
I've said it numerous times in recent weeks, and I use the exact same term.
Right.
Fucking Julian Assange, collateral murder, dude. I mean, just like I said, scores and scores have been murked, and we rationalize it. But like you said, when we do it, it's just a whole different story. And right. It's very frustrating, dude.
And that's the game of. And look again, as someone, especially that I've gotten older, and I realize it's like I get the game. Now I don't. Not that I agree with it, but I understand because again, it's all about power and control and about manipulation. And that's just this is a ruthless game that we're playing here, and it's life or death. And so when life and death is on the table, you have to do what you have to do to win and to survive. And if it costs to manipulate some people, and we go over here and bomb them and blow them up and saying fuck you, and then when they try to do it back, we like, whoa, hold on now. That's just the way.
And like you said, there's so little empathy. It's not our uncle, our daughters, our brothers being just like scorched from white phosphorus or whatever it is. And again, and Pat had listed, some of the subjects tonight. It's wickedly brilliant, Operation Mockingbird, and how they control the narrative, which thusly controls our perception of what's going on in the world. This has been going on for decades as well. And it's, we got 4 or 5 companies that run all these different media outlets, from the internet to magazines to the TV to cable, all this bullshit, dude. So it's, they've definitely locked it down. And when you, again, can control the narrative, you then control the perception of what's going on in the world. Like all these false flags that have happened that they've said was this person, then we find out through historical perspective, i.e. the Vietnam War, that it was horseshit. But 58,000 of our brothers and our fathers and our uncles went over to die for bullshit, and that continues
100%.
to happen.
100%. I respect. Hey, look, I'll say this though, for Christian, I say that I respect the hustle, because that's all. I respect the hustle in terms of they've been able to manipulate masses of people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I wish if I had that power?
Currently.
Oh, I wish I had that power. That was a
Well,
massive-
again, and this is the Force. We say the
That's what
Force.
we're trying to grab back tonight.
It's the Force. You want to use that shit for Sith means, or you use it for Jedi means. It's the
Yes,
same Force. It's
100%.
just how you use it.
So here, check this out, right? I'm reading this book, and it's basically talking about it's comedy from slavery until now. And as I'm reading this book, the one thing that I've realized, and you always know it, you always know about how media controls things.
Right.
But as I read this book, it makes me understand how media controls just the type of control where, to be honest with you, the reason the racism and everything going on right now is all because of media and its influence.
Thank you.
And its influence on simple-minded and gullible people.
Exactly.
Hey, Christian and Mike, dude, I strongly suggest, and I saw this in college, there was a movie called Ethnic Notions. And if you've seen it, I mean, anybody peep this out, dude, because not to just harp so much on the racism thing, but it is when they showed the movie Birth of a Nation at the White House, Woodrow Wilson said that's the dopest movie ever.
Right.
You had white dudes with black face going around, big old bug out eyes, looking to rape white women, and you still see it today. Uncle Ben's rice, that's Uncle Remus, dude. Aunt Jemima, that's the mammy. These things still exist on our shelves today, and it goes to our unconscious. It's not over. It is over, but it marinates on our unconscious where we think that's what defines the images of black men and black women. Oh, you must be some subservient. You must be the mammy, the Sambo, or whatever it is, dude.
It's that. But here's the big thing, and this is what I realize is that think about your form of entertainment at this time. It's all about the shows that you have to go out and see, and so the way that they portray black people in these times were in these derogatory ways.
Yep.
It just like now. So think about it. You have a person who lives in the middle of nowhere, and they probably have access to, as far as their access to black people, is what they see on TV.
The guy I had.
I was going to say your boy who just saw his first black person in the 90s.
Are you trying to make fun? Are you guys trying to make fun of me right now?
No,
A little bit.
He was from Tennessee. He actually drank Aqua Velva. Remember the aftershave?
Oh, shit.
Wait, what?
You drank it?
Yeah, because he was an alcoholic and it was like moonshine to him. He was from the hills of Tennessee. His name was Bird. I love Bird to death to this
Holy
day.
shit.
This was in 1990. He had his first black person, live black person, was in. His bunkmate was from Compton, which was awesome. The dude that was a performance was from New Orleans, and then there was from me on the other one. So you got 3 black dudes from different places.
And free criminal.
And unfortunately, Christian, that's what it takes sometimes. That takes a huge natural disaster or a 9/11 or being in a foxhole where you don't give a fuck what color the person is. It's just somebody saving your life, and then you're friends forever. But like you said, until that time, like I said, we're all just products of our environment. So we take that kind of limited thinking into the world until we start seeing, the world the way it is.
So let's do this. Go ahead, Christian. Then I'll add something.
And the reason I'm saying that again, it comes down to simple empathy of other people to understand that they don't come from the same background as you, and they're going to be different from you.
Right.
So if I see somebody, there is no predetermined judgment on that person. I'm gonna judge you on your character, right? So I can't, especially if I were. Let's just, whatever, I'm black, right? So as a black person, I could, just me being me, I can't just wake up and be like, I don't like that whole group of people because of what I've seen. Because for me, I need to see it firsthand. I need to interact with those people and then make my judgment. And that's what I can't comprehend how people can't do that.
And there's an engineering aspect to it. I hate to keep bringing that up, but the newest movie I saw coming out, Tubman, or about Harriet Tubman. I get it.
I can't wait. That's gonna be fire too.
But check it out, bro. Check it out. How many? Okay, we get it. 200 plus years ago, shit was fucked up. Harriet Tubman was the bomb. Have we not had any come ups in the black community? What about Madam C.J. Walker, the first black millionaire in Chicago at 17, 18 years old? Ida B. Wells. Langston Hughes, the first Spike Lee, Oscar Micheaux. It always is filtered through this pain of the worst of being a black person or, black history. Right. Can we talk about the come-ups in the world?
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to let Christian, and I'm going to tell you why. Our history has been raped from us. We don't, and think about it. I've been able to trace my lineage, right? Because of, I don't want to call it my white privilege, but because of the privilege I have, I've been able to trace my ancestors back to the 1400s, and I come from the Tudors. I come from royalty from the European side.
That explains it. That
I
explains
know,
it.
right? But I can't do that for my African side.
Right.
I can only determine a general region that I have been from.
Right.
You understand? So we don't have a culture, and we've been trying to figure out like how we got here.
But that's what I'm saying. We know Harriet Tubman. Everybody does. Nobody knows Oscar Michaud. Nobody knows Ida B. Wells. Nobody knows Madam C.J. Walker. Not as many.
No
anyway.
one knows Crispus Attucks.
Exactly. The first person to die in the Revolutionary War.
But that's not by coincidence. Again, that's because it's his story was allowed to be told.
Well, that's almost my point. They want to keep it in the worst struggle, and that's what keeps the divisions. Damn, slavery was fucked up. Damn, I hate them white people, as opposed to people who transcended that, dude.
That's not us as African Americans that are doing that in the media.
Too. Oh yeah, that too.
That's because you've got people don't like Tyler Perry because of the Medea, but Tyler Perry had to do the Medeas in order to buy up half of Atlanta. You understand? So that way he can start trying to put out these movies to open ways for Hill coming up and just running through putting us in the light that we should be seen in. But it's not just us. It seems goes with the Asians, with the rich crazy Asians. They've been seen where I remember the old Charlie Chan, what was the old detective that was all
Charlie Chan.
Clouseau.
Charlie Chan, where it's like
in the Chan clan.
And so you've got you've got John Wayne playing Genghis Khan, right?
Oh, come on, Duke.
There's people, or the Indian from the commercial that we all knew that made us cry,
with the tear.
Yeah. You're not even Native American, and then like me, I feel kind of weird. Like when we do these shows, Pat, when we go out because we're on reservations, and it's weird to me seeing, because it's weird to me because I want to speak to them in Spanish because I'm from Texas, and then
that's very racist of you, actually.
But because if you think about it, the Hispanics are actually Mexicans. They're Indians. They are Indians.
Natives.
Spanish.
Yeah.
The natives. So they're native to this country. So there are going to be similarities. And look at my nose. I mean, we can.
Yeah, that's because you're Anunnaki, bro.
I'm not Anunnaki.
You're Anunnaki, bro. Your
We're
cousins
all
are
Anunnaki.
accent.
Fuck that.
So let's do this. Let's move on to, when we talk about, racism and everything else. Let's talk about, how there's been a microscope for years on law enforcement, its interaction with. I think that there's a huge dynamic that obviously is deliberately imposed on society right now. I do understand.
When did the NWA release "Fuck the Police"?
89, 90.
84,
So it's
86.
No, that was my first tape I bought from my first check from Eagles grocery store, dude. 89.
I'm in.
So if you think so, that means at least since they were kids, that's been going on. And
yeah, no, absolutely.
So police, it's going like Jeff said, that you had the guy on that they called certain neighborhoods the zoo, and the police officers were zookeepers, because I enunciate and I don't sound the way I look, if that makes sense. You know what I mean, Pat? I don't sound the way I don't sound.
Dude, I've heard that shit my whole life from black and white people.
Yeah, so
you don't speak that jive.
So
right.
I get treated differently by police. I've had this police officer, but they're a dick, but they've never put their hands on me, and also probably because I'm a bigger dude. But they'll be passive aggressive, and I'm passive aggressive back, but I'm being respectful of my passive aggressive. And then I've had friends
you're an intelligent guy who knows how to talk to people.
But I've had friends that have gotten their ass beat by cops.
I've had cops try to beat my ass. I get it. I beat up a police officer when I was 14 years old. I turned him upside down and stuffed him in a snowdrift.
Look at that thug mentality.
I don't see that. So the whole thing,
And then that's where the privilege comes from.
Now,
But this is the assumption that all cops are white who are doing this. I just watched a video from Detroit today. These 3 black dudes whooped the shit out of this brother in a convenience store.
right?
But that's also the police mentality. But the police officer that did this was Hispanic. It was actually a sheriff. That he would fuck with my friend consistently. Every time he saw him, we hung out at this go-kart place. We were regulars there. Everyone knew us there. The owners all the way down. He would fuck with my friend every weekend, beat him up, but wouldn't say anything to anyone else.
Let's break this down intelligently, though. Okay, so we've got a lot of forces at work. We've got a lot of preconceived notions by different people. We've got society in general, who's, we've got some pretty fucked up people in society. We've got society becoming more disrespectful to authority, more revolting in general. We've got law enforcement who's more and more afraid. We have hiring standards that have been lowered more and more and more because nobody wants to be a police officer because of the bullshit that's going on. So look, when I was a kid growing up in Bettendorf, Iowa, look, I saw police officers who, for the most part, would grab you by the neck and plant your ass on the back of the cruiser trunk and say, if you screw up again, I'm going to beat your ass, okay? That stuff doesn't go on enough anymore in a lot of places, number one, because you don't have officers that demand the authority that these guys did. And they actually, hold on, Christian.
You shouldn't have to put your hands on anybody.
They actually, look, dude, they actually cared about us as kids, no matter what color we were. They gave a shit about us. Now we've got people being hired, unfortunately, as police officers who have never been in a fight in their life. They've never lifted a weight. They can't defend themselves. They're scared to death, and they're out on the streets with, well, I mean, let's be honest, some professional criminals. And when professional criminals decide to act, people die, right? So there's a lot of that going on. There's a dynamic on both sides where one side is deliberately being undermined and weakened, while the other side is almost being heralded as victims instead of being called criminals, which, look, there are unjustified shootings. I see it. I can look at it and go, that was a bad shoot. Okay, that was a horrible shoot. But a lot of this stuff is the basically painting all enforcement as bad people, and that's a really bad thing, dude.
Okay, but that's not what's going on. Law enforcement.
What?
They're not all law enforcement are being painted as bad people. There are.
You know what I'm saying, though.
But there are. Okay, if you see something, if I know that you're embezzling money and I don't say anything, I'm being complicit. I'm being complicit. I mean, so I'm still guilty if I'm complicit because I'm not saying anything. So
right.
if that officer that just got fired for planting drugs on people, I forgot where it was.
Florida. Down in Florida.
That was in, yeah.
So think about all the time. That's just what he's okay. He's just got caught. Think about how many of him there are out there.
Yeah.
But think about how many of him there are out there because just because he's a police officers are still people. People are still shitty. So just because you got this uniform on doesn't mean I have to respect you. I'm gonna respect you if you deserve to be respected. I'm not gonna
right. If they treat you with respect, of course.
Exactly. And in these positions, not all these people are criminals because you have some of the like the officer that's shot. There's officers that have been like, wasn't it the guy that had in Cleveland that had the
Tamir Rice?
Castle? No, not okay. Well, yeah, that guy wasn't found guilty, and that's a kid playing with a. I mean, come on, he was there within 5 seconds of them pulling up. So, it's just,
did that kid point a gun at them though?
Pat, the video is out there, and then it was and Ohio.
Well, I'm asking did that kid point a gun at them?
They pulled up and immediately shot. No, they pulled up and immediately fired.
Okay.
So it's but
that's bad. That's bad.
As Jeff can, maybe Jeff can tell Mike probably, but it's weird feeling threatened for no reason, like people locking your door when they walk by for no reason. And it is because of the way, again, society, we can say society has pushed these things on us, but it's still up to you to make your own mind up. I've been exposed to the exact same things that everyone else has. I see the same things in the media, but it's how you let it affect you, how you let it affect your judgment of people. When I troll your friends, the only thing I always ask them is why. That's what pisses them off.
I want you to continue trolling my friends. I love it.
But what pisses them off is my arrogance, is the one that I'm so arrogant in my answers, and then I constantly ask them why. And my arrogance blocks them from seeing the truth, which I think it's funny, but
you're one of them uppity Negroes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I got one of my good ones shirt, because to let them know. When I wore that in South Dakota, they had no idea. One of the good ones. What does that mean? But yeah.
Yeah.
And again, generalization. It happens, man, all the time. One side generalized cops, one side's generalized, civilians, if you will. Exactly. I was, as a bartender, man, I was working at a bar one time, and these cops came in, if it was a private party, and just sat and got fucking shit-faced, dude. Drank all of our whiskey. And by the end of the night, there was this crew of like 3 or 4 guys in the back, and they were like, you know what, dude? Fuck Jim. You know why Jim's never going to be in the inner circle? Because he blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, there was that kind of fraternal mentality, not just fraternal, because I know there's female cops, too, where they cover their own asses, man, whatever it is. Like, I know you planted that shit, but I'm going to testify for you anyway. But, and again, that's not all cops. I get it. But they're the ones who have the power to incarcerate people and to kill people. And part of this narrative or part of the psychology, when people see, like, your Eric Garner, the dude didn't even get charged with state crimes or federal crimes. So it's like people get pissed off when they see cops do whatever color they are, kill people, and then walk. That's frustrating as fuck.
I get it. But here's the thing is, I've spent 25 years training law enforcement. I've done a lot of certifications of law enforcement, defensive tactics. And look, man, there's a lot of good people in law enforcement, man. The vast majority of these people actually really want to do good stuff. You know what I mean? And the number of bad cops is very small in comparison. And unfortunately, yes, the media is going to highlight that and try and cause divide. And people need to, my message is this, man, is that us doing this podcast, Jeff and I, and having people on is aimed at finding the truth and trying to diffuse the bullshit that the mainstream media is trying to cause. And it's unfortunate that we're trying to do damage control for these fucking in mainstream media who are being paid by the intelligence community and the government to do this. There's a reason that there were 40 CIA operatives in high up positions in the media when JFK was assassinated. And if you think that it's any better today, you're fucking high. So we're doing our best to try and bring Americans together and find common sense in all of this. And look, again, I train a lot of law enforcement. I've trained thousands and thousands of instructors who have, in the end, we have well over a couple million end users of the stuff that I've taught. And, the vast majority of those officers are not fucking racist. They're not bad people.
Okay, but you've got to think about the stuff. 3 of us here, I don't know Jeff's background in combat sports, but 3 of us here are trained.
I'm a black belt in bullshit do.
I've got one of those too. But the stuff that these officers need to learn they're not that okay. The Eric Garner case, that was a rear naked choke that he held too long, and the reason he held it too long is because he did not know what that choke was. He didn't. Now, if you or I or Mike were to put someone in a rear naked choke,
we took 3 seconds, we cuff them and it's done.
Yeah, as a door guy, that's my go-to move is whether you're facing me or not, that's how I'm carrying you out. So either I'm behind your head or behind your face, but I know when I'm choking you, so I know when to let go because I've drilled it long enough to know when it's
when somebody goes left, they're done.
These officers that you're training, they're not realizing that because someone's saying I can't breathe, and then we know if you're saying you can't breathe, you really can. But we don't realize, they don't know that it's a blood choke and I'm cutting off the blood supply to his head and it's going dark to him. And so, but you and I know that. So these the problems, like you said before, is the cut. So they're not being trained. The police academy is at the most 9 months. So through 9 months, you're trying to get in schooling, drilling, and all this stuff in. And I know what boot camp was like, trying to learn the Navy's history while I'm trying to learn how to fight fires, while I'm trying to get up and run 3 miles every morning because my company commanders just quit smoking cigarettes, and I still got to stand watch at midnight. So I know what that did to me mentally at 17, 18 years old. So now you've got these 25, 30, 40-year-olds whose minds are already developed, so they can't deal with the stress. So they're going to take it out on Tyrone that they see every day because I told you to stop doing this shit. So yeah, it's they're still people.
I think it's everybody's afraid of
Liam Neeson. Yes.
Look at Liam Neeson.
I want to kill the first black person I saw. I mean,
Liam Neeson is hilarious, dude. Dude, Charles Barkley on the fucking TV show talking about Liam Neeson, saying that Smollett should have just went to fucking Liam Neeson's neighborhood and got this shit taken up correctly. Dude, I was laughing my ass off.
I don't know if you guys saw and I hate to harp on this. I hope we can jump away from the cop stuff. If not, whatever. But the cop who iced the kid in the hallway of that hotel, who was supposedly partying with his girl, the kid was scared fucking shitless. Dude.
Oh, and they did Simon Says.
It was a white
kid.
He
did. Yeah, he basically did Simon Says. And the kid, for whatever reason, I think
he was begging for his life.
He was, but I think he did try to grab his phone or adjust his phone or something and got smoke from it. But I mean, I don't know if that's bad training or just trigger happy.
Scared, man. Cops are fucking scared.
They're scared.
Can I share a secret with y'all? So I have this sort of cheat code, right? That I'm not afraid of the police.
I know the cheat code.
And I don't have So for me, my sort of issues and anxiety comes from knowing other people's interactions with the police. So my biological father is a police officer. He was he was on the force for 35 years. He was like the celebrity. Like when you think of a police officer who's always on TV and like the celebrity, that was him. So for me growing up, my dad was a legit superhero, right? I remember riding around in a car and people was like, yo, that's Mike, because my dad's name is Michael Jackson, but the dude is 6'5", 300 pounds, right?
Right.
So when people see him, there's this, oh, that's Mike Jack, that's Officer Jack, whatever it was. So for me growing up and seeing the police, it was a superhero, right? And now, I have friends who became police officers. My cousin who we were like brother and sister growing up. I just found out 2 days ago she's in the police academy now. So for me, my family has been ingrained as far as law enforcement goes. And I can go back to my great-grandfather, right?
Right.
But what people don't understand is that, again, it comes back to the media and what people are seeing on TV.
Right.
But those people are still doing bad things. So for me growing up, I've always had a positive outlook on the police, right? Because of my interactions and connections with my father. But now that connection is gone because, again, the actions of a few are sort of
ruining the whole pile of apples.
Under the 100%, and it's unfortunate because, and then it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how the stat, because the interactions are changing, and the interactions are changing because the times have changed. What's that motorcycle guy? So because you have the types of people, again, society is changing, right? Where people are more sensitive and more triggered about things, that is going to infect the police academies as well.
Right.
So that same sort of mindset, now you're giving it to people who feel they're the judge and the jury and executioner. And they feel this sense of entitlement and this sense of power that wasn't there before. You know what I'm saying? And that's the issue. And so it's
There's a
vicious
myriad of
cycle.
elements, man. There is a myriad of elements from the lack of training
It's
and
a
what you're
lot of-
talking about.
Right.
And I mean, people
Right.
just the defiant youth. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Because it's I don't think it's necessarily just one thing in particular, but it's all combining to create, some really fucked up shit. And it's like, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Imagine this, right? So you just say you got the cop, and then you have the guys who are more, I don't know, knuckleheads or whatever you want to call it. Remember the war? What was it? Warriors. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Come on to
no.
play.
Actually, here's a better example. Think of Police Academy when Zed joined the police force, right? So before that, Zed was the punk dude out in the streets, and then all he did was take that lifestyle and he became a police officer.
Right.
Now, and so that's what we're seeing now, as far as people in their personalities and their beliefs. These people are becoming police officers on top of limited training, on top of I don't like whoever because of whatever reason.
Right.
And now they have a badge and a gun, and no one is checking them because their friends and their coworkers allow them to get away with certain things.
Right.
Think about it. Like, it was funny. We had it reminded me of the Shield. We had an issue out here in Houston where, did y'all hear about the no-knock guy a few months ago, or maybe it was less than a year ago?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what happened was this cop, he served a no-knock warrant against his house that was supposed to be a drug house. Dude kicked in the house, but it was a guy and his wife. Well, the guy didn't. I mean, he was just a white guy, and now the white guy did live in a predominantly black neighborhood. I'll give him that. Anyway, they kicked down the door. Well, then the dude didn't know who they were, so he shot back. And I can't remember if he hit one of the cops, but the cops ended up killing the guy. Come to find out, and I called it before because I have friends who, now they didn't give me the information, but I knew people who worked for the DA's office, so I kind of heard some inside scoop beforehand. But the guy all he was doing was just planting evidence. He had this kick door warrant. He goes and kicked this dude's house, and they were just like no one's gonna charge this dude up about this because they're giving this sort of what is it, like no one's being held accountable. Now that dude, they got him eventually, but the grand scheme of things, a lot of these people aren't being held accountable because the people are covering for them.
It reminds me of the case in New York City many years ago in the 90s, Larry Davis, who was basically selling drugs for cops, and then he decided not to sell drugs for cops anymore, and they literally just came in and shot up his whole, his mom's crib, sister's crib, and they were all in the same spot, and he shot back, and he actually got off. They charged him. He actually shot a couple police officers, and he got off for self-defense.
I like that. Well, this dude, I want to say that the guy died, though. The guy, he ain't coming back, so.
He died. The dog died.
Oh yeah, they shot the dog too.
I think I do remember hearing about that. Was he former military?
I don't remember.
I don't think he was just a white dude chilling at the spot, and the cops came and shot him and his dog. That's messed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's do this. So let's switch gears back to. I was going to play this. I stopped the broadcast on Periscope so I could play this for you guys. This guy's kind of interesting to me. These are. All right, these are some pretty heavy hitters, black dudes that live in Baltimore that are going after Al Sharpton and Elijah Cummings, and about ignoring the blight and everything else that's going on in the inner city ghettos and everything. This is some pretty heavy shit, and this is a guy who doesn't give a fuck, obviously, about being painted as an Uncle Tom and all the other shit that guys who support, whether it's Trump or Republican ideology or anything else. And you guys can give me feedback on this. I don't give feedback on this. All I said was Reverend Al got fucking roasted by this dude, and this dude is obviously in court. All right.
First of all, let me clarify this before you hit play. Let me just say this. Al Sharpton is a snitch, and I don't rock with Al.
I love
Former
it.
FBI informant.
So
And I don't
hold on. I'm going to play
Wait,
this.
who made Al Sharpton the spokesman for black people?
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Damn,
Jesse.
I suppose-
They got
don't-
ran the fuck out of Ferguson when they showed up. They were asking for $100 from that neighbor. I mean, they literally were grand opening, grand close, and touchdown.
This guy's fucking. I want to meet this dude.
Let me hear it.
Oh, man. Just go to Reverend Al Sharpton. You're not even a reverend. First of all, you was a manager for Aretha Franklin. You work for the FBI, for the government, and you ain't been nothing to the black community but a damn infiltrator and a lying piece of shit. You a rat. When Donald Trump was out here, every last one of you was kissing his ass, trying to suck dollars out of him. You taking shots at him, because the people who control you don't control him. But nigga, we know better. We know everywhere we find your black monkey ass, you somewhere trying to steal some dollars from somebody. You still in debt right now, man. The only reason why you're not locked up is because you working for the feds. Is somebody gonna say how you wore a wire on the whole entire mob, or damn near all of them, a lot of them? Something of the sort. Anybody gonna talk about how you set up Martin Luther King Jr., how they had and everything else, and somehow your punk ass walked away? You're not a civil rights leader, man. You're a coward. You use black people, Spanish people, you use everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
This guy tells the truth. He tells the fucking truth.
That's
These are
mainstream
facts.
news about Al for sure.
Yeah, that's not a secret.
Yeah. So here's the thing, man. It's like, because people, they do good. Al, I'm not saying that these people have not done good, but it's like you can't do good for the community and then at the same time.
We already said that. We said that at the beginning.
I wasn't denying that. You can still be a piece of shit and still do good. Look at Donald Trump. So, I mean,
Here we go.
no, I'm just saying. Look again. I'm not trying to like or pick on one person, but there's some evil people in the world who have done good things. And that good thing doesn't negate the bad that they've done, but you can't not acknowledge if they're being talked about in certain conversations, you can't not talk about the good shit that they've done.
Right.
Al Sharpton
But Al Sharpton, yes,
he's a piece of shit. And he's not the spokesman for black people.
Yeah. Nor is Jesse.
Nope.
I get it. So,
now, and the reason that said that is because now Al Sharpton is speaking out about about Trump, but he knows him. He knows him, like he said. He was buddy with this dude, so he knows. And snakes hang out with snakes.
I mean, everybody fucked with Trump for the last 20 years, fucking rap albums and shit. I mean,
they didn't really fuck with him. Is what they talked about. They wanted that money,
right?
Because he had the lifestyle. They didn't say that, but they also said that they talked about the Noriega lifestyle, or it didn't mean they were friends with Noriega.
Right.
Here's the thing about Trump, and I'll admit that I've never been a fan of him, but he does some funny things. He says some. But again, I have a sick sense of humor.
Yeah, he's comedy gold.
My issue, 100%.
100. Oh, yeah.
My issue though is that there's a difference between having someone who's like your homie and we sitting here talking and joking or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and then having someone who influences law and power. There is a difference. There's no. If Christian was running for president, I'm not voting for him because I don't trust that he would do it. I would just be 100%.
Going to war.
You know what I'm saying? So, and people like to say that. They like to bring up, oh, well, y'all were fans of Trump and it 100% because he brought a sense of entertainment, and there's a difference between a sense of entertainment and politics. So when I know people are like, oh,
right. we're gonna break down Trump now.
Oh, okay.
What's what I'm saying? I've said it before. He taught Vince McMahon how to be Vince McMahon, and I've said many times over, dude. The dude, he is Michael Corleone at the end of The Godfather, coming in and taking out the old gangster to bring in his gangster. That's all the fuck it is.
I'm a fan of Vince McMahon's too. There's no fucking way I'm voting for him for president. Never.
Okay, so we already have a pretty good notion of how you're going to respond, judging by your T-shirt that says "Don't let your president get your ass whooped.
That's right, Jack. That's
All
right,
right.
Jack.
So let's go with first I want Mike Jackson's evaluation, an overall evaluation of Donald Trump.
I think he is, man. He's a slime. Like he's. I can't even put into words.
Come on now, but don't be a parrot for the media. Is what I don't.
This
want
is
you to do.
no.
Don't do it to yourself, Mike. Don't do it to yourself. I want you to evaluate his policies.
What policies?
What policies? Give me some policies.
And
You're gonna have
his intentions.
his intentions.
What policy?
Okay, give me.
I've been asking since November of 2016 for someone to give me one of his policies.
He bringing coal back?
Clean coal.
What is that?
What's clean coal?
Well, coal has made a resurgence. A lot of people have been put back to work.
Stop that lie, Pat. Stop lying.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
Pat militants.
A lot of people
Pat militants, don't you tell that lie.
I don't even use
ass to a Kentucky and a West Virginia coal mine, and we'll fucking talk about it.
And see all the people. And see all the people out of work in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, all the people on welfare that voted for him.
There's a lot of people on welfare. We know that.
Look, Pat asked my position.
3 million people have been removed from welfare because of it.
That's terrible.
They got kicked off.
Here's you asked my idea. I think he's a really bad person. That's all I got.
But
And
you can't just make a statement without justifying it without facts.
Okay, fine. You want facts?
You
Okay.
Justify it through actions.
Okay.
Not
So here we go.
Mean tweets, Mike.
Fine.
Not mean
No.
tweets.
I'm not talking about the fine. You want more here? Okay, here we go. So I don't think a person who is the leader of a country. The leader of the country is not supposed to divide people. He is supposed to unify the country.
How's he divided people?
Baltimore is a shit rat hole. And
It is a shithole.
Okay, fine.
How's that making America great again by saying that?
Fine.
How's that
It's
making?
a shithole.
Then it's his job as a leader to fix it.
As
Exactly, but
as
it's also
military.
Cummings.
Here's the thing.
It's
Look.
his job as a leader to fix it.
He just got office, guys.
And he needs to take charge.
Elijah Cummings been there for 25 years, hadn't done shit for his people, and wasted $1.8 billion.
Fair.
Okay, but since 2016 to now, what has the person in office done?
No.
I think he's done a lot. I think
What?
prison. I think executing a white supremacist. I think a lot of the things he's done has been pro-minority, and everybody seems to fucking ignore that.
But what?
All right.
What?
So here, let me go. So one thing that I realized, and I realized this by listening to Joe Rogan, is I feel that
That's your problem. You listen to fucking Joe Rogan.
No. And this opened my mind. Hold on. What I realize is that when white people say there's racism and black people say there's racism, we're talking about two different kinds of racism. I found this out like 2 weeks ago. I always thought that
White
people
liberals hate white people. How can you even judge based on that?
white people. So that's what I'm saying. Is so like the white people, the liberals who run around screaming racism, they're the worst.
Oh yes, of course.
And so, but there's
Of
the
course.
difference though, is because
Telling
there's a
black people that they need handouts because they're fucking less than me? Fuck you.
100%. So you have those types of races, right?
Then you have the ones telling me I can't have shit because I'm less than you.
But there's a difference because the people are looking at it differently. When we talk about race, we're talking about the entire system. So when I sit and tell people, when I tell people that a black person or minority cannot be racist, I am talking about from the point of view from us in the system of racism. That is what I'm talking about. And because when I say that, people, they look at me and they be like,
Yeah, the systematic. I get it. I get what you're saying. But at the same time, you know, me being a bouncer in a nightclub that was doing hip night on Thursday nights when the Crips and the Bloods and everybody else showed up. And look, little Chicago, Rock Island, right across the river, and Davenport. Look, these are some rough ass river towns on the Iowa-Illinois border, brother. And I used to be a bartender here and bouncer. And on a beautiful December evening in a snowstorm, I decided that I was going to try and break up a fight between all black people. And all the black people decided that I was suddenly the fucking enemy. And I was fighting off everybody.
That sounds about right.
Dude, trust me, I fought my ass off to survive that night. And
I'm sure you did.
That was strictly a black on white crime, trust me. And
but that's not racism against a white person, though.
That wasn't racism.
What's that?
That's not racism against a white person, though.
That's not racism against a white person?
No. That's not possible.
That's you. You were supposed to mind your business.
I was supposed to mind my business when I'm the security at the fucking club that's getting destroyed by a bunch of brothers.
Hey, how much
are you getting paid? I used to be. I know what door guys got paid back then. At the most, you got $100 at the end of the night, and your life ain't worth $100.
Hey, listen,
dudes,
I scored some good knockouts, that night, Christian.
But
I got some good experience.
Okay, I worked at a bar that they did a party that was Asian night where the Asians had took over the club, and
goddamn Asians come in there with all their intelligence and math skills.
These were like little gangsters. This was late '90s, so this is when people were still in their little gang bang mode. But the bar owner was from San Antonio. I was the only one that was from Houston, and I grew up in clubs so much after I got out the Navy. So I was like, hey, when they fight, they're going to fight in groups. You're not going to know who's with who. You're going to run up and you're going to grab the wrong person, and then they're going to turn on you. He was like, no. I said, I'm not going to touch anybody. I'm just going to talk people out. I'm just walking to talk to them. I kick them out. I'm not touching anybody. Sure enough, there was a big-ass fight, bottles being thrown. How many did you knock out? Man, I didn't touch anybody. Well, you a pussy. At the Galleria the next day, the guys were like, hey, I saw you. You were the bouncer at that bar last night. Yeah, dude. At a 6'3" black guy with dreadlocks in Houston in the 90s. No, I'm not grabbing you. There wasn't many of us. Yeah, but
I get it.
You pull the Dalton and Roadhouse. You'd be nice until it's time to no longer to be nice.
My thing is always is don't touch me. As long as you don't touch me, we're fine. Or if your disrespect gets a little too much, I'm gonna let you know, hey, dude, don't.
Right.
Shit.
Right.
Did you really think those Bloods and Crips were being racist against you, Pat?
No, you mind your business.
Look, I jumped in to try and break up a fight, and then they all attacked me. And here's how it went down. Here's the beautiful thing, is that when I'm trying to separate people, now all of a sudden they start throwing punches at me, just instantly. And I go, all right, now.
I know why though.
Things got a little bit serious. And then it's kind of a legendary story because it was winter time. It was the middle of a snowstorm. So everybody had winter coats on. And I had a guy grab me in a headlock, right? And the guy grabbed me in a headlock, and I knew that nobody could hit me from that side. So everybody else that came from the other side, I'd grab their lapel of their coat, and I'd pull them in and put their head next to my other side of my head, and I'd choke them unconscious with a lapel choke, and then I'd grab the next person. And I kept moving backwards with the guy that had me in the headlock. So the guy that had me in the headlock, I knew where the door was. I was moving backwards outside with him, while I continually choked conscious with their lapels and tried punching me and stuff. So once I got close to the door, my ass hit the door jamb, and I ducked out of his headlock. I threw him in a rear choke, and I moved backwards out the door with him in a rear choke. And a guy from like 2 weeks before, who was actually one of the leaders of either the Crips or the Bloods from Rock Island, I don't know who it was, I had choked him unconscious a couple weeks earlier, looked at me and said, dude, bro, don't do him like you did me. And then the guy in my arms went limp, and I dropped him on the fucking concrete. And the guy looked at me that just asked me not to do him like you did me, goes, oh, fuck, man. At the exact same time, another guy came up from the side and took a brick and tried to take my head off with a brick. and I saw it coming last second. I tilted my head, and it kind of barely grazed. It gashed my head open, but it barely grazed my head. And when he threw the brick, he screamed, "Yeah!" like he was going to knock me out, right? And when it didn't work, I turned toward him, and his eyes got as big as saucers, and I rifled him with a right hand and knocked him out cold on the concrete. And then the next thing you know, literally squad cars come skidding up. German Shepherds are everywhere. I'm in the middle of a 4-lane one-way, Harrison Street in Davenport, with like 6 police officers and a crowd of 100 people around us, and German Shepherds diving into the crowd. It was intense.
Here's my question. Here's my question for you, Pat. So when you're in these street fights, right, and you rifle this dude in the face, bow, you set him down. When they're going down, are you ever like, man, this dude's about to hit his head on this concrete?
At that point, no. I was hoping that he was going to die.
Fair enough. I always wonder about that because I know me. I'm like, I'm gonna sleep this dude, right? He on.
Well, because we're older now. We would think of that now. Now I would. Right. Now I would rifle somebody with a right hand or a left hook and catch them before they.
Right.
What I do is I take people down and go knee on belly because I'm afraid to hit somebody unless they're up against a wall, so that way they can slide down.
Yeah.
Because then I think that I'm afraid, okay, I'm gonna hit this dude, then they're gonna see my martial arts background, and then now
I'm afraid of that.
I'm fucked. And then you
have to defend yourself though. You have to defend yourself.
Oh yeah,
right.
But I think at some point where like we have to open hand slap is comparable to like a civilian's punch or some shit.
No.
I mean, just think of it like.
Cave a cheekbone in and be done with it.
Fair enough. I just don't want the dude to hit his head on the concrete. Now, I want to hit him. Yeah. I just don't want his head to hit the concrete.
What if I just leg kick him and that way he falls? Just leg kick the shit out of him. Just leg kick him so he falls. Just sit down on one good kick.
I actually had a tooth in my shin bone one time bouncing because I had kicked a guy.
No, leg kicks, man. Head kicks, they're still falling.
I don't need that in my life, Pat. I do not need teeth in my shins.
All right, so last thing we're going to talk about, guys.
Wait, but let me talk about you. You didn't ask me what my opinion of Trump is. Okay, I don't think that he's a racist, but I think he's playing to the lowest common denominator. He's playing to the people that don't know any better because they've been brainwashed by the media and this Cambridge Analytica was been pushing stuff on them to make
Good points.
So they.
I mean, he's speaking to his constituency. Like when Hillary goes to freaking African American or on Breakfast Club, I walk around with fucking hot sauce in my purse. Bitch, shut the fuck up.
Hey, fuck that bitch too.
But yeah, I didn't see, and that's the thing about your friends, Pat. Your friends.
She's a racist. I don't give a fuck.
Your friends think that because I'm anti-Trump that I'm pro-Hillary.
We're talking about white people.
No, your Facebook.
Hang out with white people.
Your Facebook friends, they think that. People are in this mindset that if you're anti-Trump, that you're pro-Hillary.
That's the team mentality.
No.
Well, it's that binary choice.
I don't.
It is.
You drink Coke, some drink Pepsi. I like Dr. Pepper. I'm gonna pick Dr. Pepper.
But that's what everybody's about, though. Part of this social engineering. I hate keep saying that word, but part of the controlling of people's minds is like you just said. Everything has to be binary. Everyone's looking for this shortcut to thinking. If I'm criticizing one, I must like the other, and it doesn't have to be that at all. But because we're all so fucking programmed, it's like you said, Coke or Pepsi. I can't drink both of them motherfuckers.
Let's get into this though. Let's get into the deep state. Investigation into Trump, which we know was funded by Clinton and the DNC.
But
it was a false dossier that got
what dossier are you talking
legally obtained FISA, right?
The PP dossier, where he likes to piss on or piss chicks like the whatever.
The dossier was written about someone else. I'm not going to say who else right now.
That dossier is not even
someone else. Trump's name was put into it. It was used to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign, to spy on, the GOP candidate, and then the president-elect. These people, ultimately, I mean, this boils down to committing treason. It was not.
How? Wait. It wouldn't have been treason until the point that he was president-elect. Because at the time that he was a candidate, he's still a private citizen, so there was no way for there to be treason because he was not a government official.
Once he is the party nominee,
He's
They're trying
he's still
to stop.
a private citizen.
Look, dude.
Hey, once he's still a private citizen, he is. So it's not treason. It's not treason.
Spy on him as president-elect.
If I spot, it wouldn't have been treason until the point he was president-elect.
But they went past that.
Okay, but
so everything you're saying is negated. Everything you're saying is negated. It is
okay. So what has come out of
that? A free presidential election, which they did.
He did not win he did not necessarily win the.
Can I name the factual stuff that led up to this? Let me do that. So they hire, even contractors were allowed access to citizen information that they shouldn't have been allowed to, number one.
What is the outcome of this?
Australia, England, every apparatus of intelligence they could. Two.
What was the end outcome of that investigation? What has happened?
The end outcome of that investigation was a distraction to try and ultimately it was to try and oust a president-elect.
My question is, what was the outcome?
Find anything doesn't negate what they did.
So
negate what they did, brother.
Is it only a big deal now because it happened to Trump and you're so pro-Trump, or is this something that's probably happened? Let me finish. Or is this something that's probably?
You got to stop talking over each other.
Or is this something?
Can you name an operation that did that to Bill Clinton?
Is that something Whitewater? I mean, Whitewater was about Bill Clinton. It was supposedly about Clinton, but it was really about Hillary. They wanted Hillary. They used that as to get to Hillary.
Well, look, they had already compromised all the people in intelligence and the FBI.
My question
to make sure that none of it ever came to fruition, brother.
My question is, okay, so there was an attempted quote-unquote coup to stop Trump becoming president. It didn't happen, right? So he's president now, right?
Yes, he's president. But
so why are you bringing up old shit, Craig? So okay, so you want them to? Are you saying that they should be arrested?
The only time they should be.
Let me ask the question.
As if they were successful? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, you didn't let me ask. You didn't let me ask the question. Right, so you're saying they should be prosecuted for finding out information about the president, right?
There was no information about the president that was found.
So they should. Okay, so they should. So they should be prosecuted then. Okay, good. They broke the law. Cool. Prosecute them. So let's talk about the Mueller report and what he said, that the president can't be brought up on charges once he's out of office.
That's great. But here's the beautiful thing about it. That was a distraction and an investigation.
But he was still found guilty.
No. So hold on.
But he was still.
That was an investigation based on a false dossier that illegally obtained FISA warrants to spy on the president of the United States. It was all fake and false to even get to this point. So you mentioned that he could be prosecuted for obstruction of a fucking failed coup is retarded.
So what you're saying is that's not what I said, and the reason you don't.
I'm explaining to you that it's retarded that you can even go down that road, that he could be prosecuted.
You're not listening. You're going. Oh my God, you're a super Trump. Oh my God, you're so super Trump. You're not listening to the question that I'm asking. That's not what I've said. You're telling me what you think I'm going to say. Stop talking and let me tell you what my question.
Okay, you go ahead. Tell me.
Okay, so now because they use false information to find out you're walking away.
I can hear you.
So they use false information to find out that he was doing dirt the whole investigation of him doing dirt should just go away because of the way that they found the information. Is that what you're saying? So your issue is a point of law, not the fact that
doing
so
dirt. Define doing dirt.
Pat, it's what you're arguing is a point of law versus the fact he still can be tried or can be tried for obstruction. Is what they said. Is what was
under normal laws. Laws, Christian.
So what you're saying. So what you're saying, Pat. Listen to my question.
Obstruction of an investigation.
Pat, listen to my question. So what you're saying is because the information that they use to start the investigation that says yes, he can be tried for collusion and obstruction should go away because of the way they found the information. So we should just forget about that. I should forget about, if you commit a murder, I should forget that you committed murder because the way I found out because I planted drugs on your neighbor.
Is apples and fucking oranges, dude.
No. I hear what he. Hold on. I hear what he says.
I'm hearing what he's saying too.
I see. Okay, but listen.
The process.
Your point. You're arguing a point of law. You're saying that if I found out that you committed murder because I planted drugs on your neighbor and he told me that you committed murder, he confessed or dropped a dime on you because I planted shit on him, then you're.
And I try to block that investigation. Then yes. But you're talking about taking the long road to an obstruction charge. Here's the thing, though. When the obstruction charge stems from, let me go through this slowly so that we all understand. An obstruction charge that stems from an investigation that started from illegally obtained FISA warrants that were obtained because of illegally created and false documents, which were called a dossier, which were paid for by political opposition called the DNC and Hillary fucking Clinton. You can't create obstruction charges out of thin air on a fucking coup d'etat on the president of the United States. It's moronic. It can't work, and it will not fucking stand.
Okay.
You can't do it. You can't fucking do it. And any liberal that actually believes that that is justified is a fucking moron. Think about it, dude. Would you sit back and honestly think about that for a moment? Our country almost got fucking turned upside down by these cocksuckers on a complete ransacking of our intelligence community and our higher-ups in every form of law enforcement and government. Criminals were ready to fucking take control and put the finishing touches on the nation. This guy got elected by the fucking people, and you're sitting there defending obstruction charges.
What did I defend? What did I defend? And yes, I'm high. I've been sitting here smoking my pen because you are hilarious. You are hilarious. I have to be high to deal with you. But now,
so
I haven't defended anything.
Obstruction charges.
I haven't defended
a guy
anything.
Who stopped the fucking coup on his presidency.
I haven't defended anything. I asked you a question, and then that's the issue with this is. I'm sorry.
But I had to bring in the bigger picture, brother. I had to bring in the bigger picture.
It's a simple picture. You're saying that because they used false information to find out that he was doing something illegal.
Not only false information, fabricated.
That's what false information is fabricated information.
Hold on. Let me, because I'm be honest with you, like all this shit, I'm more in like the ethics side. This technical shit is above my pay grade. Let me deal with the racism.
Shit, that's above your pay grade.
So let me, because I don't really get into that shit. So what I'm understanding here.
Not get into the destruction of your own country.
No. Hold on. That's a whole conversation. So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing this correctly, right? So Donald Trump did something illegal, right? Yes or no?
No, they didn't fucking find anything illegal.
Okay. So the reason for the case was because they thought he was doing something illegal. Yes.
No, the reason for the case was a distraction from the crimes of the administration. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. So we're gonna go with the hypothetical that they're trying to catch Trump for doing some illegal shit, right? Okay. So
Wait. We started an investigation based on the thought processes that he might be doing something illegal. Doesn't give the basis for an investigation to fucking begin with.
wait, if they don't, so
That's
you're
profiling.
saying, so you're
it's
saying,
like, how come I can be profiled but he can't? He's
Right.
had a history of doing dirty shit.
I've never heard of an investigation on you because of who you are or what you believe.
That's
Right?
funny.
I've never heard of that. Has that been started yet, Christian?
Maybe not him directly, but
Not me
Black
directly,
People, yes,
but-
100%.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So-
you know what I'm saying. You're trying to twist it. but
So
it's
what
okay.
I'm just make sure I'm hearing this correctly.
Shit, I'm
So
straight shooter, brother.
so someone fabricated some kind of information to try to catch. So they set a trap, a lie as a trap to catch someone. Yes or no? Is that what I'm hearing?
They sent in operatives to set up Trump, yes.
Okay. But they did this because they already felt that he did something illegal. Yes.
No,
Then why did they send in the fake operatives to frame it?
because they were doomed because he got elected.
But-
Because they were fucked because he got
See,
elected. They never
okay,
expected
so-
him to win, brother.
Okay, so where are all the indictments? Because
I'm still-
you and the conspiracy farm
Okay,
have
now
been
let's talk
saying.
about the indictment.
Let me ask the question. Let me ask the question.
All right.
You have been saying that these indictments against all these high-ranking DNC officials and all this stuff are going to be coming out.
Yes,
Where are
it's
they?
coming.
All I've seen are GOP officials. Matter of fact, only thing I've seen are people directly from his
Yes.
administration.
I'll
And now you and I,
gladly answer
Pat,
that. I'll
you and
gladly
I have
answer
had the
that.
conversation.
I would gladly answer
You're not-
that. Manafort was working with the Podesta brothers and with the Russian firm when he committed his crimes. That's what he was actually convicted of. All the other people that were convicted, none of the crimes that they committed were committed during the Trump administration stuff, and all of those people were convicted of crimes of, like, basically omitting facts from their testimony. So all of this stuff is trivial, very trivial stuff to try and distract from the real crimes of.
Okay.
No, hold on.
Can I ask the question? I haven't even asked the question yet, though.
But I'm just giving you a heads up that nobody, including General Flynn, even who will be exonerated from all of his charges because they fucking framed him. All this stuff is garbage because nobody committed crimes or collusion with Russian officials. Nobody was convicted of any collusion with any Russian official. So all this was a distraction to slow the process down from the fucking eventual facts that the last administration committed massive fucking crimes. The Clinton State Department is guilty of horrible fucking crimes, selling 20% of America's uranium output to Russia, which in turn turned our uranium over to the fucking Iranians. You think why we're having a problem with Iran right now is an accident? When Obama and Kerry and a bunch of other assholes go over there and meet with Iran right before we suddenly have problems with them? This is all false flag bullshit.
Iran was
Yeah,
on
you're talking about
Iran
how-
was on the hit list back in the Bush administration. General
Sure,
Wesley
but
Clark
this is-
listed
This
Iran
is
as one of the
set up to
countries.
save their ass. It's set up
Okay.
to save their ass.
Okay. Now, you and I have had this conversation, Pat. Trump is not a politician. He has no idea on what's going on in world affairs. He has zero ideas. He only knows what he's being told, and he may think he has a top. Let me finish. He may think he has a top secret clearance, but he has a need to know clearance 100%. Bolton is the one that tried to start the false flag. It's not Obama and them.
Bolton wants to stop the false flag. Is that what you just said?
Bolton is the one that is. Let's go to war.
We'll start it. Absolutely.
It's not Obama. It's not Kerry. They don't have the ability.
Yeah, Bolton's a shitbag. We all understand.
So Trump unfortunately picked shitbags to be in his administration.
Did he pick shitbags to be his administration, or to keep shitbags close to monitor what the shitbags wanted to do?
What he did is he kept the people around him.
There's a counter thought here, brother. I would want Bolton in my fucking administration, so I knew what the shitbags wanted to do. Okay, you got to understand. My mind thought is reverse of everyone else's.
Let me explain to you a different level. Okay, you come from fighting. You're trying to get into beer.
I don't come from fighting. I come from survival. I come from paying taxes. I come from living. I don't come from fighting.
Are you high now? I'm trying to analogy. Listen, Pat. Okay.
All right, I'll let you finish.
Okay. You come from the fighting world. You're trying to get into manufacturing beer, or you want to run a brewery. Okay. You've managed fighters, you've ran gyms, things like that, produced heavyweight, produced champions. You were a champion, but you've never ran a brewery before. So you're going to hire people someone that says, okay,
know what they're doing. Yeah.
So his first chief of staff was a piece of shit that said, okay, let's get these people. So he brought in piece of shits. Okay, right? So that's what me telling you how to start a brewery. I'm gonna bring in the people that I know. Trump had the dude from Breitbart that looked like he had jaundice.
So do you think Bannon and Gorka do you think Bannon and Gorka were misinformed?
Yeah, they were because they were told, okay, this is who they were told by the real people that run the country, because the president is Queen Elizabeth. He's just a figurehead.
Bannon and Gorka got him elected, brother.
Listen to what I'm saying. They got him elected. It's more House of Cards than we want to admit. That's okay. Trump does not know politics. He came from Hollywood. No matter how much he talks about how he hates the media, he hates Hollywood, that's where he came from. That's why the stars are the ones that are able to come and speak to him, because they know his language. They know how to speak to him.
What stars are coming to speak to him?
Kim Kardashian is the one that got him to pass the prison reform. That's
one of them who sucked to get fame. Okay.
How she got there is irrelevant, but that's who he related to. That's who he's able to relate to, because they come from the same world. They understand. She's able to tell him, okay, this is what will look good for you.
One example of Kim Kardashian you're
interrupting me as I'm talking.
Multi-billion-dollar empire.
Prove it.
Of real estate, and you're posing that he is a Hollywood guy.
Okay. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
He's a Hollywood guy.
You're not
he built his empire in real estate. That doesn't make any sense, Christian.
Prove he's a multi-billionaire.
Wait, you think Trump is a multi-billionaire?
Prove he's a multi-billionaire.
Wait, I was riding with you until you said that. What?
Well, he's clearly a Hollywood guy. He had a top-rated TV show called The Apprentice for freaking years, so he has some Hollywood ties.
Hey, I mean, he's WWF Hall of Famer too.
WWF Hall of Famer. He owned how many pageants? How many pageants did he own? Now listen, he is not a politician. He is not in Hollywood. It is a different.
Of course, he's not a politician.
So, like,
they sell politicians to blow it out their ass.
So it's just like you or someone coming to you, Mike or I, and asking about fighters. Okay. Who should I match up? They're going to come to the three who knows. So Trump not being a politician is going to go to someone, okay, tell me who I need in my cabinet. Okay, whoever someone told Bannon, okay, pick these people, is what I'm saying. Trump did not pick these people. Trump did say go pick these people. And everyone,
This dude has had the biggest turnover in his cabinet ever.
Sure, because he got rid of shitbags.
That are in his. They're his
But
people.
that's okay. That's okay. When people are shitbags, you get rid of them.
when are the indictments from the other side coming? Because you've been talking about this for as long as I've known you.
The other side don't matter because it was based on a false investigation.
So okay, I'm sorry.
None of it matters, Christian. It was based on a false Can you at least acknowledge?
You're not understanding my question.
No, hold on.
You're not understanding my question.
Can you at least acknowledge?
Yes, I acknowledge it. Yes, that'll make you stop talking about
it. Based on a false fucking investigation and false documents.
But my question is
yes or no?
I said yes, just because it'll make you stop asking the question. Now, when are the indictments? When were the indictments when are the indictments from the Democrats coming? When am I going to see Democrats people starting to fall?
They've been investigated since day one. It's coming now. That Mueller's investigation.
You've been saying that for so long, and I haven't seen them. And I'm asking when.
It's harvest time, motherfucker.
But you've been saying, but it's been harvest time for years. As a farmer, you should know that harvest. You can't harvest.
For fuck's sake, people are gonna comment like, "Shut!" You guys talk over each other. I mean, I'm not. It's been impossible to follow this because
a great conversation.
But it's hard to hear because everyone's talking over each other.
Stop it, Jeff.
It's not everybody. It's literally two people.
Well, that's what I mean. The two people mainly talking. Go ahead.
But for Christian, I would say, look, the indictments could not be opened on these people until Mueller was done.
He's done now. He's done now. So they should start coming out because next year is an election year. So they should start coming now.
It's coming. That's perfect timing, right?
But he doesn't need it because
elections are coming. It's perfect timing.
But he doesn't need it because Biden can't beat him anyway, and that's who they're going to prop up against him anyway because they know that there's no one's going to vote for Biden. So
Biden's a creep.
Here's the thing: is that Tulsi Gabbard and Delaney are actually legitimate opposition, but they're not far left enough.
Biden's going to get the nomination. You already know.
Biden's going to get crushed.
That's why there's no one legit running that has a chance.
Tulsi Gabbard's definitely a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that Delaney is actually a very smart guy, and if I were a liberal, I'd be voting for Delaney. I would. Delaney can actually explain how he's going to pay for everything.
And why does it have to be a liberal? Why can't it be if I will vote for the person that?
Why is that?
Why can't it be I vote for the person that is the best for the job, regardless of
a libertarian?
But this one no third party is going to get. I voted for Gary Johnson because the more people that vote for Gary Johnson, it's the better opportunity for that third party to try, so we can break up this.
Yeah, but Gary Johnson Johnson hijacked the Libertarian Party. Gary Johnson is a hardcore fucking liberal piece of shit, dude.
That's neither here nor there. The point was, people were saying, okay, you gave the election to Trump by doing that. No, because she won the popular vote anyway, so it was all a matter of
she didn't win the popular vote.
Yes, she did. She won the popular. She lost the electoral.
Look, LA County alone is now purging 1.6 million voters
that have been all been Republican, who all voted Republican,
because of people who are paying. No, because of people who are exposing the truth.
Well, you saw that Google guy testified a week ago that Google helped push 3 whatever million to 10 million votes Hillary's way just through algorithmic stuff. So, this conversation obviously has been awesome, but I think this is the function of politics at large and the political theater. I don't think either side gives quite any fucks about any of us. They know how to speak to us. It's all WWE. It's fuck that Undertaker's gonna whoop Shawn Michaels' ass. Oh no, he's gonna super kick him, and no, he's gonna tombstone him. It's all fucking horseshit, dude. But it keeps us. I mean, this is a healthy dialogue too. But it keeps us, like I said in the beginning, family members aren't speaking, dude. This shit is so visceral. People don't have their opinion. Their opinion has them.
You're teaching people how to have a conversation, right?
Well, I would hope so. But it's all.
Pat
It's
knows
so,
I love him.
so much. Fuck, that's
Yeah, I
in the
love
beginning.
these
Pat,
guys.
I don't always agree, but I love the motherfucker like it's my brother and shit. But I think so much of this just serves to distract us from the larger architecture, which plays us, like we've said before on the show, it's all groups now. It's this group versus this group, Republican versus Democrat, Muslim versus Christian, fucking gay versus straight, legal immigrant versus, you know what I mean? It's just all, it's all serves to just keep us divided. Yes, divide and
It's all
conquer.
dividing. Fuck mainstream media. Listen to the Conspiracy Farm for the fucking truth.
It's
is what it
legit
comes down
divide,
to.
and that's what people like. And y'all were talking about shit that was way above my pay grade, but that's really what it comes down to, is that it's divide and conquer. And that's why, because my whole thing is like, if you want to have a united country, you're gonna bring people together, right? That's not what they want. Because you break everybody down, and you get to pick and choose what you want to do. And the people whether you want to call them elitists or whatever the fuck you want to call them, the people who are controlling the strings, they're doing it because people are so naive and so gullible.
Yeah.
You got people like us who is like, nah, this shit's stupid. And then you got other people who look at it like, no, I'm a fall for the okie doke. I don't understand that and don't comprehend it.
But again, everyone's looking for that shortcut to thinking. It's this fast food way of consuming news. I watch a 30-minute-hour show, and I swear I know what's going on, even though those news shows are owned by companies that want to feed us bullshit, and we swear we're being fed freaking your fast food. Oh, I'm full. Well, you just ate garbage, and now you think
that's
you're.
What I'm saying is that I can't wrap my head around the idea that although this is public knowledge that the media companies or the news stations this is public knowledge.
Yeah.
Yet people choose to not engage and not to educate themselves.
And they fall for it every time. Same thing like we said before about Venezuela. They do. Venezuela, Iran. This is all the same playbook. Gulf of Tonkin. And the only through historical perspective in 10, 15 years will we know that this war they're about to start in Iran is bullshit. Like I said, General Wesley Clark in the early 2000s was like, look, here's the list of people. Iran, Lebanon, Somalia. And look at, Iraq. Look at all the countries we've been in. These are the countries that have been on the neocon list forever. But now here it's happening. They're like, oh, fuck. They think it's organic. They think, oh, well, let's go fuck up the Iranians. Let's go fuck up the Venezuelans. When it's literally the same playbook, and we fall for it every fucking time.
Here's the thing, though, dude, is that my former SEAL team member buddy sat there and said, and I talked to him today, and he said, we're not going to attack Iran. Trump knows the false flags are going on. He knows what they're up to. He knows that Obama and Kerry and all the other shitbags have been over there fucking meeting with the Iranian officials. They're paying off military leaders to do stupid shit, to take a British oil tanker hostage, to cause outrage. But look, the American people know that playbook. We all know that playbook. And it's not going to work. And frankly, I don't think Trump's going to bite. So there's not going to be a war with Iran. I think Trump's going to let it play out. And in the end, we're going to see prosecution bags in the deep state.
I judge a tree by its fruit, dude. We'll see. I'm in the show me states. You guys to show me.
He hasn't done it yet, right?
But it's election year. You don't want to start a year going into or start a war going into an election. We'll see what happens if he.
Don't do that.
I mean, if he keeps his cabinet full of fucking Goldman Sachs and neocons.
Mike and Christian can comment on this. Trump is going to bring us back to the gold standard, and he's going to kill the Federal Reserve in his second term. What do you think of that?
No.
How?
No.
I love it. I love the fact that everybody tells me no.
How?
I mean, the Federal Reserve isn't federal. It's a bunch of freaking foreign banks, dude. I don't think he has that much juice.
He doesn't.
That's much as he wants. He will pull an executive order and kill it. You watch.
But again, that's what he needs to say. He knows how to speak to his constituency once again. But we'll see. I mean, I could say I'm fucking running for president too. But if I don't, then I'm talking shit. And he's a master of it. He's a fucking master.
It's all coming. Mark my words. Mark my words.
I hope you're right, bro.
Pat, my question to you is, how can you not see him speaking decisively? How can you not see the division in his speaks?
I don't see any of it because he calls out facts and truth.
No, you don't
Everything
see
he says is truthful. Everything he says is truthful. Is Baltimore not a rat-infested shithole?
But again, okay, we're gonna go back to that.
Is New York not a rat-infested shithole where he's from?
Yes.
And his son's about to run for mayor.
It is. It is,
Oh,
but
his
not
son's
near as bad as Baltimore.
Oh, what? You're crazy. You're maybe now.
Dude, I've been
it's
in
not.
Baltimore and I've been in New York. And Baltimore's a shithole.
You've been to the Bronx,
I love the people. Yeah, I've been to the Bronx.
and it's not torn down. It's not rat
It's
infested.
pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Okay, that's in New York, right?
But look, if Elijah
Now,
Cummings,
but
if
you
Elijah
don't-
Cummings wants to step up to the fucking plate and call out the president, he's got to be
That's-
ready for the president
I'm not-
to call him out on his district. Is the point? Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I
But-
agree with that.
Fair, but my question was, is how do you not see that as divisive? If we're trying to make
Right.
America
It's not
great
divisive
again,
at all. It's take care of your fucking
What?
people, brother.
Oh,
listen,
Take
if
care
we're,
of your fucking
Pat.
people.
aren't those people Americans?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It-
Take care of
so-
your fucking people.
So aren't they his people too?
25 years, brother.
So aren't they
25
Trump's people?
years He's been, whoa.
They're not Trump's
25
people?
years in service.
Okay,
25
but
years in service.
That's
And
old
Elijah
shit.
Cummings, no, dude. I'm gonna fucking out you. Now I'm gonna out you and Elijah Cummings. Elijah
me.
Cummings has sold fucking real estate and the gentrification of the fucking ghettos of fucking Baltimore to the fucking white billionaires who have taken that shit over slowly, and they're going to turn it into running the black people out, of course, because they can't afford the fucking rent, and fucking turning it into a business district and high-rise condos. So don't play that shit with me, because I know what Elijah Cummings has done. He's sold out to the fucking white wealthy motherfuckers, and he's selling out his fellow fucking constituents.
and
So
what is Trump going to do to
I'm
fix
not
that?
I'm not even remotely fucking falling for that shit.
And what is Trump going to do to
No,
fix
no,
it?
no. Oh, go ahead.
What is Trump going to do to fix it? Call his ass out.
How is that fixing
Call
it?
his ass out and,
Okay,
and
here-
gaslight his ass.
Fine.
How is that fixing it?
Fine.
It's fixing it. It's fixing it by fucking gaslighting him and telling him to fucking stop doing it.
And it's
I-
dividing the country.
I got it. Look.
How's
So
that
here's
dividing the
I'm
country?
about to explain this.
How
to
is
you.
that
So,
dividing the country?
I'm about to
Please.
explain it.
Please.
So you have now whatever you said about Elijah, I personally have no idea. So I'm gonna take what you're saying at face value, and I'll agree with it for this.
Okay, great.
This right? Okay. With that being said, if that is true about Elijah Cummings, then that dude is a piece of shit, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, no,
basically.
yes or no, right? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So now, you have the president of the United States of the
You
United
just became the president, by the way.
I don't give a fuck if he came in yesterday or tomorrow. He is, if even he was the president-elect in the moment, right? You, as the leader of the country, cannot go on this tirade talking about your people and calling them shitholes. Now, if you want to say Elijah Johnson,
Yes, you can.
no,
Yes, you can.
then we're gonna have
Yes,
to.
you
agree.
can.
Fair enough. We're gonna
Yes,
agree
you
to
can.
disagree. Okay, we'll agree to disagree here. In my opinion, as the president, you should not be sitting here talking about your constituents like this. You should not be divided, because that's gonna gaslight. All he does is a dog whistle. So, as opposed to
No,
sitting,
he's telling.
as a,
the
we're
American
gonna
people,
agree to
especially
disagree.
people that live in Baltimore.
Fair enough.
is
We're gonna agree to disagree.
fucking going after Elijah Cummings for taking $1.8 billion and not doing shit with it and pilfering it and taking it for himself and his friends.
Fair enough. And I will agree with, again, I will agree with the sentiment. But what I'm saying, as the president, you cannot go on whether it be national TV, well, you can't go on a public platform and demean American citizens.
Yes, you can. He didn't demean American citizens. He demeaned a politician who has assisted in the demise and destruction of an entire fucking city. Every Democratic-run city in this nation, Detroit, Chicago, fucking Baltimore, have been destroyed
Houston
by
has been
fucking people.
How come Houston is thriving? How come Houston's thriving? We're run by Democrats.
You're lucky Houston has a shitload of fucking Republicans, is what it is.
So
not as much as you think.
Okay,
You're
again,
lucky. You're lucky.
I'm glad that you finished that, right? So again, none of that matters. Because, again, as the president, you're supposed to unite the. I understand from your point of view where you think he was doing, but
He's
that's
not here to unite. He's here to inform.
So I have to ask you, Pat. You say often,
then,
Pat, no problems, only solutions. Does that kind of rhetoric create more problems, or does it solve problems?
It creates the thought process of solutions.
I'm gonna from the
gaslights the problems, which creates solutions.
Well, the term gaslighting, we got to make sure we know what the hell we're talking about when we use that term. Gaslighting simply means you're accusing somebody of something you're doing yourself.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what gaslighting means.
Yeah, but ultimately, gaslighting is also there's couple definitions of that.
Okay. I don't want to split hairs. I've always heard it in the context of
it's accusing people of stuff and then throwing the spotlight on them with a microphone.
Fair enough. Okay,
let them defend themselves and expose themselves.
Where I was going with this, you as a again, we're gonna agree to disagree, but I feel as someone who's trying to unite the country, and as a representative of the black delegation at the moment, my man is saying shit that is off cuff. It's wrong, and gaslighting, but it's all toward. It's in a negative direction.
It's untrue. Is anything Trump said untrue?
It's not about true or false.
No, it is.
It's not. No, it's not. You have to have.
So all of Baltimore is a shithole? All of Baltimore shit? Or is there parts of every city that have their bad areas?
Is Baltimore a rat-infested shithole?
The whole country?
The whole
Answer
city?
Yes or no.
The whole city?
The whole
You're not going to demand that I answer a blank.
I'm going to say
bold
no.
cover statement. I'm saying no.
You're going to say no when there's documentary
the whole
about
city
fucking
the whole city. The whole city.
You're gonna say no when there's documentaries about rats the size of cats running through people's houses everywhere in Baltimore.
Everywhere?
You're seriously going to do that?
That was
Literally
awesome.
everywhere?
Yes.
Literally everywhere?
Yes.
What's this documentary?
All over the fucking city.
What's this documentary?
Yeah.
What's the name of the documentary?
I don't know the name of the documentary, but I watched it. It's pretty fucking troubling.
Check it.
It's pretty troubling.
You should remember the name of good shit.
Check it. If you are indeed a fact that rats are infesting the entire
city, taken over the downtown area.
Okay, fair enough. If that is true, then I can see my point as far as the entire city being infested with rats, right? But I will not concede the point that the president of the United States should not be demeaning.
Oh, he shouldn't say hurtful shit? Are you kidding me?
He
shouldn't say hurtful shit about a city that's been overrun by fucking rats and the people are living in dilapidated conditions, and Elijah Cummings is celebrating in fucking Italy with fellow Democrats right now?
What is Trump going to... What is the president going to do to... Okay, we'll accept that the fact that Elijah Cummings is a piece of shit. He destroyed that city. What is Trump going to do to repair that city? Because it is an American city, and we need to make America...
Elijah out.
Beyond that. Right? beyond that.
We'll see. We'll see if Elijah comes to him and asks for more funding. $1.8 billion has already been wasted on downtown Baltimore that never got spent on the needy citizens and got blown on the fucking people that decided to take all the money for themselves.
Okay, we'll acknowledge that. I think we've all acknowledged that Elijah Cummings is a piece of shit. Al Sharpton is a piece of shit. Okay, my question is, what solution has the president or anyone from his administration suggested? He's been in office.
I think that's coming.
When?
As soon as the meltdown is done. Dude.
Okay,
the meltdown.
okay.
Initial, look, Trump calls people out for a reason. They have a freak out session. Everybody does their whole, oh my God, Trump's a racist thing. And then reality sets in. And then they say, actually, Trump's right about what he said. And how do we fix this now? So that's where the next step, that's where we're at now, I would hope.
So when is he going to call out the representative over Mississippi, where it has the counties in Mississippi that are the highest numbers on government assistance that voted red, that voted for him? When is he going to call out? When?
I get what you're saying.
Can you link me to that?
Look,
Can you link me to when he's called them shit bags?
I'm 100% behind what you're saying. I've been to that section of Mississippi.
But can you link me to where Trump has called their representatives shitbags, where their representatives have blown the money that has been sent down there for Katrina and things like that? Can you link me to where he's called their representatives and their shitty rat-infested shitholes?
I think more than anything else, Christian, is that what we need to do.
So what you're saying is no, you can't link me to where he has called predominantly white populated areas that voted Republican.
You're picking and choosing to a certain extent.
No. I know you asked.
Elijah Cummings has attacked the president, and the president attacked him back.
Okay. But the thing is, you said that it wasn't divisive by him attacking Baltimore because it's true.
It wasn't.
But
it wasn't.
Okay. It's also true that there are places in Mississippi that are shitholes, rat-infested, that voted.
100%. But he hasn't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
And I don't see that same energy when it comes to missing trillions of dollars from the Pentagon or Defense Department budget that just disappeared. Trillions. I know that's, you know.
The Clinton administration.
I know where
No, fuck no, dude. Donald Rumsfeld, the day before 9/11, said there's 4.7 or whatever trillion dollars missing from the Pentagon. And we found that there's even more since, that was 20 years ago. Trillions have been missing since then, or misappropriated to these fucked up wars. No comment really on that. Or he's not holding the military, the Pentagon accountable, but he's,
Right.
I mean, he should.
how Donald Rumsfeld speaks.
I get it. I think he's picking his wars, brother.
I'm sure, but just be consistent. Keep the same energy. If you're going to say, call out a boy, which, 25 years and he's blowing money like that, call him out if necessary. I mean, you guys are kind of arguing about methodology, the way of going about it.
Hey,
Why
Pat,
did I lose the picture on Christian and?
You lost the picture?
Yeah.
We can see you. I have a question for you.
You.
I can see.
Maybe it's your computer.
This is our third longest podcast, boys. Third longest.
I have a question for you, Pat. So,
all right, go ahead.
what do you think they spent the money on? If you could guess, what do you think?
Well, ISIS funding, of course, that was billions.
Hooers and coke.
Who is it? You think?
No, I'm just joking.
No, but what about the dude? There was some dude who recently, I can't remember what company he was working for. He embezzled so much money, and that's what he was spending it on, like trips and hotels and cokes and strippers.
Yeah, dude, they invested massive amounts of money.
I mean, we get that shit from Wells Fargo, Wachovia all the time.
You're looking at Chechen and Syrian drug rings in the Northeast running heroin. All that money was used to fund ISIS. That was the Clinton State Department. All that,
So nothing fun. So only bullshit. Nothing of substance.
Are you kidding me?
I'm asking.
Are
you saying nothing of substance when I just told you what it was being used for?
Well, I was thinking they were going to use it on strippers and coke.
I'm sure Fuck, you talk about that much money? I'm sure a portion went to it.
That's part of it.
I mean, what do you think the budget was for that though? Like out of the what do you think it was, a 4-point-something trillion?
Billions.
Well, I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show. There's been a black market economy that's been going on in this country, from drugs to arms to people's body parts, etc., for decades. And this is up in the trillions of dollars. But yeah, we digress.
Okay. Just curious.
And that money probably went to. It's going to sound funny, but it probably went to what Space Force is going to become.
I am so excited about Space Force.
Good stuff.
Because that's exciting.
And the beautiful thing is, we know that an army has been sent in to sort of clean out the Northeast from the previous State Department's army of Chechens and Syrian drug dealers. And
I thought we were talking about Space Force.
Yeah.
Well, careful on your happiness on the Space Force. Check out our episode on 5G and the coming technocracy, and how that Space Force is being used to set up some serious control, authoritarian monitoring grid of everything on the planet.
Yeah.
What I think Space Force is, okay, there's money been going to secret stuff.
Christian,
I think that Star Wars.
Is the Anunnaki going to return in our lifetime?
Can I finish one thought first?
Sure.
Okay. Now, what the Space Force is going to be is whatever Star Wars became, because the Star Wars project never. I don't think funding to that ever stopped. That that's where that secret money is going to, and that's what's going to become Space Force. There's a reason why we keep the ISS alive, and just the wording of not only I'll go back to the Republican savior of Reagan's speech, but also to some of, I think it was Pence's speech or Donald's speech of how war is in space. So that kind of ties into the Anunnaki. Yeah, there's probably shit out there that they don't want us to know about.
They're definitely weaponizing or planning to weaponize space.
Space is being weaponized.
Are returning.
Well, no.
Who said they ever left?
Space is going to be weaponized, and it's going to be weaponized not to attack each other, because that's what Star Wars initially was. But the ISS is an international space station, so there's a reason why we're working with our quote-unquote enemies. There's a reason why we're working out there constantly. So they're keeping watch over something, or they're refueling.
Well, and they're keeping the narrative, per the generation. Like you said, Star Wars was around when everybody's so scared of the USSR. Now, it's no coincidence that we're starting to see. Oh, the Navy's. Was this a UFO? I mean, we're seeing almost every day something about UFOs or near misses with asteroids, and so that's the narrative they're using to weaponize space. What'd you say, Pat?
He asked, are the Anunnaki here?
Anunnaki here.
Of course they are. But it's almost like the light spectrum. We can only see so much of the light spectrum. We know gamma rays exist. We know X-rays exist, and that's almost the same with the Anunnaki. These guys have mastered interdimensional space travel. So there's different dimensions that we're not able to perceive, but there's shit going on in it. And I'm saying they could be.
This might throw a few people off.
Y'all going deep.
Like there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason people were so against Super Collider coming on. Maybe that's
a part of it. That's a part of it.
And then okay, like today I had the Mandela effect. Like really, I remember you were talking about Joe Rogan. I remember his podcast at one point. He used to say the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan all day. Would train all day. Joe Rogan podcast all night. Smoke weed all day. I know for a fact that it used to say that at one point. It doesn't say that anymore. And someone argued me with that, and I went back all the way through his podcast, because I know that Nick said that in his initial time that he said that, but now it's gone. So there are little weird things. Like as far as the Berenstein Bears, I know like the way that's spelled. Like I'm old enough to remember the Berenstein Bears and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird stuff where it's like, okay, it's maybe we are in the Matrix.
You got to listen to our recent episode with my man Matthew LaCroix, who just wrote a book called The Stage of Time. We've had him on a few times talking about the eagle versus the serpent. You want to have your fucking mind blown on this shit, dude. That's
and then I grew up in the church, so a lot of that stuff that's happening like I freaked some people out. I showed them 9/11 in Revelations because there's stuff that it's out there. There's some truth to it. And then also like astrology, the year 2000 was supposed to be the age of Aquarius, the rise in femininity. And if you look at how things are going, Pat, wake up, drink some coffee.
We're losing Pat.
Yeah. You're killing me, bro. You're killing me.
But yes, that's the way we're going. Things are destined to happen. Is it the Anunnaki? No. Is there something that's coming that's going to cause a great awakening and for us to realize that, hey, we're all the same? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
what
coming.
it is, who knows? But right now,
earthquake or volcano or whatever.
it's a meteor. But right now, we're super divisive, and the president is not helping the situation.
Well, they need it. The architects of the world, they need us. They need us resonated on a low frequency, because the more woke we are, the more we start getting that. The fix has been in, and like my man said, we've been falling for the fucking banana in the tailpipe for way too long, and they've been reaping the benefits on that division, dude. So that needs to cease. And conversations like these, man, I mean, they're awesome, dude. And I'm glad everybody's obviously still all love. I don't know how much you might want to wind up
awesome.
Here. We're losing Pat here. We need to have a part 2 of this, dude, because that shit keeps going on and keeps developing.
These guys are. I told you.
You were absolutely right.
I squared away, man.
They wasn't ready for us, Pat. Jeff, y'all wasn't ready for us, baby.
He wasn't. But I love these guys, and look. So we'll close this episode out and we'll say, look, I'm half asleep right now. I'm going to say that.
Just past your bedtime.
Yep. We'll see you.
Sutton,
We'll
Mike
see you
Jackson,
Wednesday.
Jeffrey Wilson, I love you all. Hey,
Mike Jackson,
let's keep seeking the truth.
I want to link up with you, Mike, and burn some of them sweet leaves and have a little barley pop with you sometime.
No doubt, baby, no doubt.
All right, guys. Thank you, man.
Dallas,
Mike.
Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, to Pat, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you in Dallas, Pat.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will talk soon, and this is the end of the episode. We'll talk to you soon.
Sleepy time for the Croatian sensation.